Hello, welcome to X-Cool. I am parked on this, I just parked in here, just looked like a bit of kind of abandoned land, and next thing, a big tractor came in, and a Scottish farmer popped his head out, and without a bother in the world, like he didn't even care one iota. It's just like, how you doing? And had a good old chat with him, all about life, and then barely even mentioned I was probably parked on his land. This valley has got like no cell phone coverage, and the story is about to change dramatically. Oh, look at these cows. Like animals, guys. Like he was talking to me, these are his cows, and he's just saying like the crazy stuff that the government do to make life hard for farmers. You know, he had a truck that he transports them with, and it was decommissioned because he didn't have a sign saying livestock in the truck. And he's like, we're on par with, like, you know, Hitler for some people, these farmers, like, that are farming animals. And it's just like, your animals give people sustenance that is probably what most people don't realize is just how many of us need good meat. And that's just, you know, I went vegan and got really sick. And then I remember the first steak I had in months, maybe even a year, I felt like I'd just taken some ecstasy. My whole body just started to kind of like elate. Guys, the forest here is just so beautiful. It's because of the undulations. You know, they're, you know, you've got these huge little, like going all the way up. Actually, I might take a little walk in there. So let's go for a walk in a mysterious forest. So basically, the reason the story is about to change dramatically is because I set out on this mission to get as far from towers as humanly possible to see how much better I'd feel. So I did, and I basically got into what I would say was pretty protected zones. And I did feel better, and a lot of the symptoms started to go down. However, I still felt not very good, which had already happened to me before. When I went to Wales, I went to Valley, no reception, hidden away from everything, and the symptoms were still there. But the reality is, the towers and all this stuff, they do have an effect. Like having your phone in your hand, especially if you have what I'm about to speak about, like, which is basically, you know, if you're bloody toxic, like parasites, heavy metals, like, you know, like so many people, we've lived in the world, and we're breathing the air. So this is the point I've gotten to right now. And it's such a good point, because we can't all just bloody go to valleys with no cell reception. It's just not possible, is it? So how do we get, first, all the people out there that are in a similar situation to me, or potentially people who are watching this that may not be yet? Because what I'm seeing happening is, I do believe they're amping up the frequencies. I do believe they're spraying heinous chemicals. I believe it's probably going to get even worse, and they're going to, you know, start putting stuff in the water again. And do you know, like, we're dealing with like a very like disturbed people that seem to be making life very hard for the people. So to not focus on that, like, what can you actually do? Well, like, you know, obviously you can get your own water filter, and you can try and eat as healthy as you can. And I was doing a lot of that. except for the not eating healthy part, because what was going on with me was that I've had like serious parasites for the last 15 years, probably even longer. And it's funny when you talk about it, like it's nearly like a taboo topic. Do you know? I've even noticed, I brought it up recently in a group, and one woman just got very kind of defensive. It was nearly like the parasites were speaking through her body, if you can even imagine that. And whatever these like organisms are, they're hyper intelligent. They've allowed me for 15 years to somehow allow them to occupy my body and slowly break it down, and like so many like breakdowns of like relationships and getting angry with my kids. It's like, is that really me, or is that like these parasites that are in my liver that are basically just like screaming at me to buy some ice cream or eat some absolute crap? Because what's happened since I've done this? So I've done multiple. All right, this is where this story gets like real. I nearly died before doing a parasite cleanse. Prior to that, I had 9 mercury amalgams removed. And what ended up happening was I did this parasite cleanse shortly after I had the mercury amalgams removed. And I ended up being rushed to emergent hospital. And I had emergency open heart surgery, and a mechanical valve was inserted on my heart, and it saved my life. And after that event, I've been very cautious about how I address these parasites. So I have done very, very subtle cleanses, herbal, but I've never touched the pharmaceuticals again. And I've just been, for a lot of people out there, under this kind of illusion, I have to say, I believe it's an illusion that, you know, the natural world has all of the answers. And I just don't think that that is the case. And I feel like it's actually, I see so many different like people out there with, you know, the best intentions that seem to be so gung-ho on the nature has the answer. And it's like, what we're dealing with here is not nature. We're dealing with like a poisoning on such a mass level. We're being exposed to parasites. We're being exposed to heavy metals. And I believe that what I'm experiencing now from taking just one of these pharmaceuticals is probably the most transformative substance next to the gold that I've taken probably in my entire life. And I'll know more and more the further I advance on this course that I'm on. I'm probably on day 4 at the moment. This morning was actually very intense. And actually that's part of, other than this generator that I have stopped working, so my power kind of went because I'm on the move. That's why I've stopped making videos. But now I'm back because I fixed it. I fixed the generator, carburetor, just cleaned it out. Kind of pins and sprays, and I went and got a quote off a guy, 160 quid in the place, a local place, and then I was like, sure, I'll just do that myself. I did it myself. Sounds great. You can do everything on YouTube. So, okay, so let's figure this out. So, Albendazole is the name of the substance. I did a lot of research before I took it, and I also did a lot of divining as well, and I really connected with spirit, and that came up and another one, so I bought both of them. And I'm also working with somebody who's very knowledgeable in this world with all of this pharmaceutical parasite information. So why would I be telling people about this? Well, the reason is because if you think you don't have parasites, this is actually a very safe medication that you can take. And the reason, like, I didn't go through all the testing, like, I feel like what people do is they go into, if you have the money, you go into this health world, and before you know it, you get bamboozled with like opinions and tests, and they validate, and then you realize that validation actually has no, it's like PCR test, it's like, it's telling you. I just feel like what I did was I just explained my symptoms. I did a lot of research, and I looked for the safest, the most effective, and the most broad range anti-parasitic drug out there. And Albendazole. I'll actually put it in the description, the name, so people can search it. Albendazole came up. So obviously recently you've had Mel Gibson on Joe Rogan, and he speaks about, actually, do you know, when I start saying all these words, what I noticed actually in one of the videos I did, I started talking about all these amazing supplements, EDTA, methylene blue, biophotonic liquid gold, and I had like, I don't know, like 1-2 views, and before that there was getting whatever the hell. But it is funny, I do reckon the algorithm picks up like definitely on the information that they don't want you to hear. So I'm going to have to get creative in how I get this information out to people. I'm not going to say, leave a comment, subscribe, share. I'm not going to say any of that. I'm actually just going to do it completely different. I'm going to just pray, and I'm going to, get more creative in how this information gets out there. I kind of feel like it's a bit uninspiring, that world of like, subscribe, share. Oh man, this is just so unbelievably beautiful. Like, nature is literally just absolutely stunning. And pine trees, I used to like them, and now I'm just falling in love with them. I think I'm falling back in love with life. So basically, like, things were not good. They were not good. And now things are feeling much, much better. And it's only like 3 days in. The day after I took it, I woke up that morning and I walked down the street, and I remember just thinking, oh my God, like my body, I've had this pain in my lower back. My body just felt so alive. And I'm starting to feel more and more alive. So the stuff with the gold, part of the reason, so what ended up happening, the way this came in was I was about to go on this fast. These 2 Scottish guys come up to the van, kind of cheekily, like knocking on the little teardrop camper that I'm traveling about in. Pop my head out, and they're like, "Hey, you doing? How you doing, lad?" And they basically were the nicest young guys. And I was camped by a reservoir, and they were on their way to go fishing, and they were like, "If we catch a fish, we'll give you a fish." I know, they said, "We're going to go fishing," and I was like, if you catch a fish, I'll buy it off you. And they're like, "No, you won't buy it off me, lad. If we catch a fish, you're getting a fish tonight." They're like, "Have you got a way of cooking it?" And I was like, "Yes." They're like, "You get a fish." And then they spent the whole night, and I think they only caught 1 fish, and they gave it to me, this rainbow trout. And then I was sitting in the camper, come about 10 o'clock, ringing in the ears it all starts getting really intense. So I ended up eating the fish, and all of a sudden, around that time, I was like, oh my God, the ringing is not as bad. And then I was like, oh my God, the nutrients in the fish. And then I was like, okay, like, I've experienced this again and again. Get the heavy metals out, symptoms improve. Now, like, nutrients in the body, symptoms improve. And then it just dawned on me, I was like, what do parasites do? They basically just eat all of your... Well, first of all, they make you want to eat the worst foods with no nutrition. They just want glucose. Which, for anyone out there who's just eating absolute crap, it's like, it's nearly guaranteed that you've got a parasite problem. Even people that aren't eating crap and are just like being really like diligent but not feeling good and like tired, and like, I can just guarantee you, like, the most of the world's population, with the stuff that we're being exposed to on the daily, all of the poisons in the food, all the chemtrails, the EMF coming through the air, all this stuff is like parasite heaven, basically. So they ended up coming up, and they gave me the fish, had the fish, and then that night, I knew I had the antiparasitic drugs with me. I was planning on making a time to take them. So I ended up getting them out, reading about them. I was like, take them with a fatty meal. And I was like, well, I've just had a lovely fatty fish. So then I ended up taking one. And then I was extremely nervous because of my history. And I had a good old, power up. And I was like, we can do this. And I started to feel the symptoms kind of alleviating even more that night, and I could feel it in my body and what I was doing. And it was really the next day that I was like, oh my God. And yeah, so it feels like that's like, I think, going to happen more and more to people. I think we're on this like quickening where if you're trying to get well, if you're waking up, it's like it's going to happen exponentially. The real question for me to ye is, why on earth would you not want to feel the greatest that you can feel? Because then life, it gets easier. It's even more energy to create abundance. Technically, you're richer. You'll have more money. Like what happens? Your vibration increases. So then everything around you starts to manifest in that way. And I'm gonna keep making these videos, and I'm gonna just show people. So right now, we lost a huge amount of money a couple of years ago, and we've been rebuilding ever since. And for most people listening to this, they'll just be like, you're just talking nonsense. But I've already reached a level of wealth and gotten back to zero. But I still have some assets, but like very, very small. So what I'm actually envisioning is, I see this like in the mountains in Galloway, the first of its kind, an X school. It's like it's in a dark, no Wi-Fi zone, cell tower, and it's basically it's a place that people come and we do research. It's a wellness center, and we've got technologies, and we're working on the most advanced ways to heal and repair people's bodies and minds, and bring love back into their hearts. And for most people watching this, they'll just think, man, the time frame as well. I'm going to have this up, and I'm going to have the foundations laid, the land bought, the estate house with land all around it and forest bought by the end of 2030. And I'm going to do it through psychic awareness, knowing what's coming in the markets, and just having very little right now. But very soon I will have much more. And anybody out there can do that right now. And there's a huge redistribution of wealth coming. I just know there is. And yeah, people are like, how do we take back the land? How do you take back the power? It's like God is giving people the chance to make their life abundant. And it's like, you just have to understand how, And then within all of that, the sovereign movement is something that's really close to my heart, because the thoughts of just going through like government litigation and planning and all of that. So I'm still kind of like on the fence on how we operate and how we go forward with this X school, this mystery school of amazing souls coming together and creating magic. I think some type of like, to still kind of honor and respect the people out there that are custodians, if you like, of nature and how things look in the world, which is beautiful. It's like with the communities, the last thing you want to do is come into a land and say, hey, we're here and we're just going to do whatever we want. It's more trying to make people aware. Like 100 years ago, when you bought a piece of land, you could build on it. You could build a house and a workshop and a little house for your son, and it was your land, it was yours to do as you see fit, and do no harm, and don't piss off your neighbour. If you're cool with your neighbour, who the hell else is like bothered? Like, look at this gorgeous Scottish farmer. His place is so neat. everywhere. There's no rubbish. All his animals are just so well cared for, and he's like, I've got no money. The government do nothing for me. You know, I'd pay fees, pay 1,000 for this haulage license, does nothing. He's just like, you know, I've worked my whole life and I've nothing. And he's just like, you know, they just make life hard for me. And I'm like, okay, guys, we got to do something about that. So, like, it's not like I'm not going to war with the system. All I'm saying is, I think enough is enough, you know. We need our freedoms back. We need to be able to create. The fact that, like, so many people right now can't just have a patch of land and build a cabin and have some animals and vegetables. Like, the amount of people that we've met, because Kirsty we've like, the family farm is like this huge farm in Norfolk, and it's basically just like, you know, monoculture crops everywhere. And like, we would so love to just have one little patch and have a family, and like, it's just insane that that's not possible for so many people. And that we're not only is it not possible, one thing that people need to be aware of is, we had a friend of ours in Portugal, and her house was burnt down in one of the fires, and she was explaining to us how unbelievably difficult, like near to impossible, it was for her to try and rebuild on that plot again, because the government was so concerned about her safety and another fire happening. So what they really are, for all of our safety, they're trying to herd us all into these smart cities so we can all be protected and we can look after the environment. And, you know, it's just like that's happening en masse now all over the world. In England, all the fires that you see, like, it's like, oh, campers created this fire. It's like, slowly over time you can see the way it's going, how they're kind of trying to weave this idea that, you know, probably people don't really belong near forests, guys, because they could go on fire. So just stay in your little city. Aren't they lovely pebbles? Now I think I'll pick a pebble. It's like Flint, it's like Norfolk. So that's my little spotting by the hay. I'll do a little tour of my camper one of the days. It is cool. It opens up at the side. So this is just my tiny little touring wagon. Our truck is a big beast to bring around. It's very heavy on juice and very tricky to sometimes get into places. So this is more of a mobile unit. But what I didn't realise is the Skodas are so low to the ground, like disastrously low. And I think I might have done something to the coolant, so I have to go to the mechanic soon. But yeah, I wish I got something higher. Like, I used to have a Volvo X. Anyways, shit, I better stop this. Bye bye.